when sitting with emotions just don't cut it. So let me know if you've heard of, the saying that when you have difficult emotions come up, just sit with it. And what I find, and many people find, is that unless they've had some practice on doing that, they don't really know. We don't know how to sit with our emotions. Sitting with it can end up making it worse sometimes because then you're just hyper focusing on it, which is not what sitting with the emotion means, but it's easy to go down that path, right? Or, have you heard about, focus on the breath, right? Like when you're meditating, they say, like, bring your attention back to the breath. Like if you feel a discomfort, bring your attention back to the breath. And that also works. But I've also find that sometimes when I try to focus on the breath, there is a part of me running in the background that's really trying to avoid feeling the sensation that I don't want to feel. And so that what that means is I'm still hyper focused on that emotion. It's just that consciously I'm focusing on the breath, but really I have a subconscious intent to avoid the emotion. So I want to share something that was really interesting when I was doing a yoga practice. And if you are a high achiever, maybe a workaholic, sometimes like me, and someone who loves to just achieve things, you probably have a lot of thoughts and a lot of to-do lists in your head all the time. Even when you're doing, probably especially when you're doing like a yoga or meditation or some kind of practice where you're supposed to be in the present, right? I totally get you. So here's what happened, and here's a technique that I kind of discovered. Like, I'm sure it's a technique that already exists, but I call it diffusing your awareness around your emotions. And so what happened, let me tell you the story. I was doing a yin yoga practice. And in yin yoga, you basically hold a pose for minutes at a time. And as I was doing it, as you're holding a pose for a very long time, you start to feel physical sensations pop up, like in the muscles, right, of which you're engaging in when you hold that pose. And I noticed those feelings, and they were very loud sensations. They were physical sensations. And then, of course, the to-do list started popping up in my head. Like I noticed a smudge on my computer screen, and I was like, oh, better clean that. And then I was like, oh, what else should I be cleaning? I need to clean like cat hair off the floor. And then then I noticed my planner that's on the floor, and I'm like, oh, I need to reschedule that dentist appointment. And oh, should I schedule a vet appointment too? And da 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 da, on and on. And then as the lists pile up, I started feeling like anxious about it, of all this stuff I need to do that didn't exist like literally 10 seconds ago, right? Um, and whenever that happens, I start feeling first of all, I feel a pressure in my head because I'm thinking of a bunch of things. I'm thinking of all these problems I need to solve. And I also feel a tightness in my chest. That's when I know that I'm feeling worried about something. And I'm feeling the tightness in my legs because I was happening to be doing some yoga pose that I think engaged my hips or legs of some sort, right? And I remember thinking, normally when this happens, I'm focused on the head and I try to bring my attention to my body, to my hips, right? I was feeling a stretching sensation in my hips. But I realized that instead of focusing on just one thing, what if I can expand my awareness to focus on all of these things? Instead of seeing, I guess the way I would think about it is all parts of me get to have a seat at the table. It, this might be far-fetched, but it may resonate with some people. If you think about the different parts of you that feel sensations as like children, like, oh, this is a little far. Here's honestly how I think about them. I think about them as though they were my children. And I put so much responsibility on my head and I ignore the rest of my body. So I'm like, well, if I were a good mother, I'd say, okay, head, I see you're feeling all these things, like you're experiencing all these things right now. I'm not going to put up so much pressure on you. I'm not going to like stare at you and put so much pressure on you to have to figure it out. I trust you. Do your thing. I'll be here. But at the same time, I'm going to pay attention to your sister, the heart, the chest that's tightening up, right? Historically, when I feel my chest tightening up, I wanted to like make it go away as quickly as possible. But this time I'm like, okay, so I'm aware of my head. I'm also aware of you, chest. You're tightening. Okay, something's going on. I'll pay attention to that too. You do your thing. I trust you. And now at the same time, I'm going to pay attention as well to my hips. That's feeling a physical strain and sensation right now. Hi, hips. Sorry, I've been abandoning you because I've been always so focused on your siblings, the head and the chest, and I forgot about you sometimes. I'm going to pay attention to you too. Not just because the instructor on the yoga class says so, but because I want to pay attention to all parts of me. So now I'm paying attention to 3 different things and my awareness has kind of expanded. And then I'm noticing sounds and I'm like, okay, sounds, ears, I'm going to pay attention to you too. And then breath, I'm going to pay attention to you too. And then what else am I noticing in my environment? I'm going to try to pay attention to everything. And what's interesting is that when that happened, first of all, I wasn't just sitting with the sensation. I was doing that, right? But I wasn't doing it in the way in which I'm only like, let's say I'm only focused on my chest tightness, which historically has been what I try to do. I just like focus on that. I sit with it, but I sit with it, but because it's all I'm focusing on, there's this intention that I want it to do something. And it's an intention that I can't really control. If you're a high achiever and goal oriented person like me, like we put intentions on everything, right? So I realized, oh my God, I've been putting a lot of pressure on my heart area to make that tension go away. Even when I try to sit with it, I'm shining a spotlight on it, and it can feel kind of like a pressure thing, right? But at the same time, I'm not trying to like focus on exclusively on something else to the exclusion of this area, with the intention of basically trying to escape the feeling. Even if I don't consciously, that's not my conscious intention, that there's an intention in there somewhere, right? But when I say I'm going to focus on everything that is within my diffuse awareness, I'm diffusing my awareness around the sensations, but I'm not trying to ignore the sensations, and I'm not trying to like shine the entire spotlight on the sensation. It gets to do its thing. That's when the sensations, when I zoom out, the sensations suddenly become smaller, less scary, less overwhelming. And they did just kind of fade out on its own. And I thought that was really cool when that happened. And I've in fact reproduced it like 2 or 3 times at this point. And I noticed, especially this, okay, this works for me. I should preface everything I say with, I'm just sharing my experience. I'm not trying to tell people what they should do because I don't know you. But I also notice when I actually tell the parts of my body that's feeling certain sensations that I see you and I trust you. I trust that you're doing, like, this is part of your process. You're doing what you need to do. I trust you. When I say the words I trust you, and in my previous videos, I talked about how I have a trust thing. And my Amanda, who's an embodiment coach that I've been working with, she given me some affirmations to say to myself, one of which is, I trust you. And I realized that when I say that to parts of my body, it really has a huge impact on them. Like when I say, I trust you, I'll let you do your thing. I'm still going to pay attention to you. I'm not going to abandon you, but I'm also going to pay attention to your siblings too. When I say I trust you, it does something like it almost like instantly diffuses the tension. I still need to I feel like I need to experiment with it a little more. I've only done this like 2 or 3 times, but in those 2 or 3 times that I've done that, it really worked. Now, I feel like just because this affirmation works for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for everybody. I think we all have our different stuff, baggage that we need to deal with. So it may be something else for you if you wanna try this. It may be like, "I appreciate you," or "I approve of you," or I don't know. But that's just what it is for me. And I do trust my body because as I'm learning more and more about the body, there's so many things that we don't know about it. And in fact, the more we learn about the body, the more we realize what we don't know. The more we know that we realize, right, that we don't know. And so I'm like, I think I finally understand what people mean when they say your body has wisdom, the wisdom of your body, because your body automatically does so many things that we're not aware of, but it works out for you, right? Um, because of millions of years of evolution. So I hope that helps with those of us who have always had problems with sitting with the emotion, sitting with the sensation, or bringing our attention back to the breath. Like instead, it's not an all or nothing thing. Like our focus can widen. It doesn't have to be either focus on this or either focus on that, because sometimes that can backfire. So if you've been having problems with that, yeah, try diffusing your awareness. Try focusing on, I always say maybe try focusing on like 2 things at once, and then try 3 things, and then 4 things, and then see how far can you expand your awareness. And the intention is, yeah, just to make it almost like making it a game, like, oh, how far can I expand my awareness? And not try to and try to give each part of you attention. Um Yeah, and then when you do that, like I said, like the tightness in my chest, it was just one out of like 10 things I was experiencing. And it wasn't that even if the tightness was still there, it wasn't as bad. Even if my brain was still running, it was just like 1/10 of what was going on in my awareness. And because it was so small and it eventually just kind of faded away on its own, as with lots of other sensations within your awareness. They just fade away on their own. And I really wasn't trying to get it to go away. As a matter of fact, I was like, wait, come back, come back. I want to play this game a little bit longer, but it had already gone away. So yeah, let me know. Yeah, if you have comments, put them below. Let me know if this resonates with you. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and check the description for any important links. Sometimes I'll throw some related videos and things in there. All right. Have a great day. Thank you. And I appreciate you.